Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, TikTok, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is November 25th, 2022, and this is episode 209 of the Workshop Podcast. Real quick, before we dive into this pre-recorded episode, let's get the announcements out of the way. Number one, if you've been hanging out, you've been hanging around the fringes, you've been listening to the content that I put out, and you're like, hey, I'd love to ask Tim a question, or I'd like to hang out with more people who listen to the Workshop Podcast. Well, the best way is the Telegram group. I know I push that thing all the time, but here's the deal, guys. It is the best place to interact. It's the place to become a community. It's the place to ask questions, answer questions, and learn. And if you say, well, Tim, I just don't love new social media. Well, I got to tell you, it's worth it. Give it a shot. Download the app. Join the Telegram group. The link is in the description below. You will not regret it. And number two, like I tell you all the time, do you like patches? Do you think I give you $10 a month worth of value and you want to get a patch worth $10 a month every single month? Well, go buy the Patch of the Month Club, patchofthemonth.co. Sign up, $10 a month, $100 a year. Every single month, you will get a Velcro-backed embroidered patch, 2-inch by 3-inch, usually politically incorrect, sometimes funny. Guaranteed you'll enjoy it. Always something extra in the envelope. Plus, you get added to a super secret email list just for Patch of the Month Club members for special offers, special discounts, and all the rest. So go by, check that out. And finally, guys, hey, if you're into TikTok and you're not one of those that say, I won't touch TikTok with a 10-foot pole, and that's okay if you won't, but I have a channel over there, and it has grown immensely. So if you like your tool reviews in 60-second bite-sized pieces, go by and give me a follow, or share some of the videos, guys. Links in the description. Finally, today's tool is the dewalt oscillating tool. I get asked all the time, Tim, if there's one tool you bought that you never thought you would use as much as you have, what is it? And it's always the oscillating tool. It's the tool that I think, wow, every time I need some kind of weird specific use, it's the one I pick up. This one's brushless, $110.95 on Amazon at the moment of recording. If you're interested, you're looking, whatever, grab the link from the description, check it out, or go by toolmantim.shop and see all the tools that I recommend. All right, guys, so with that, I recorded this Ramblings from the Road episode for you a couple of days ago. I was due to a request. I want to say it was over, again, as a boostergram on Fountain. Had a community member say, hey, Tim, have you ever done an episode on sales? And I really hadn't. So this is just a bare bones look at sales. Some of the things I learned selling building supplies, hardware, tools over the years in retail. And an attempt to kind of apply that stuff to my own entrepreneurial venture from there. So I hope you learned something. If you guys got questions, send them along because I'd love to do a follow-up episode to this. So with that, guys, let's dive into today's show. All right. Hey, guys. Toolman Tim here with another Ramblings from the Road. I am about halfway on my journey to go board up a bank property. So this is an abandoned property that is eventually going to get torn down. It is so far off the beaten trail, I'm not really sure why they're paying me this to do it, but I've got a truckload of chipboard, OSB, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to go up and get the windows and doors boarded up and make my money for it. So, I don't know. Banks are funny. They won't pay more than $20 or $30 per inspection, but they'll pay $1,000 to go board up a house, which will take me an hour, way out in the middle of nowhere that really doesn't matter whether it's ever boarded up or not. But hey, I'll take their money. So today we're going to talk about sales. I had a request. I want to say it was on Fountain and it was a boostergram, I believe. So I apologize that I'm on the road and I don't have the name of the person who sent the message, but there was a request to do an episode on sales. There are a couple of considerations to do with sales. Now, all right, first things first. Wherever I worked, I excelled at sales, almost in spite of myself. And it took me a long time to figure out why I was pretty damn good at sales. I was always either the top salesperson or the second top salesperson, but I was kind of cocky and confident with it, which could be good, which could be bad, but I didn't always take the time to learn and improve my craft a whole lot. It was just kind of one of those things. I had the personality and I was decent at it. So, two different types of sales we're going to talk about today. The first would be sales if you're working for someone else. So that's, selling a product or a service as a salesman. I did that for a decade, working first at Home Hardware for about 7-ish years, then for a couple of years selling Dragon Naturally Speaking software from home. That was a whole nother beast, selling over the phone. And then for exactly a year selling building supplies at the farm supply place. So all of that was selling for someone else. And so, your entire, everything you do while you're working is tied up in, hey, how much can I sell? I even sold computers for 6 months when I was out west in Estevan, Saskatchewan. I worked at a place called House of Stationery, and in my first week I sold 2 PCs, and everybody come up to me and they're like, how did you sell those? Because normally most people don't sell a PC a month. I thought, well, I don't know. Sales are sales no matter what you're selling. It's just a matter of what you do, the time you spend with the customer, paying attention, but we'll get into all that. So first we're going to talk about sales for someone else. Most of what I talk about can be used for sales for yourself as well. It's just a bit different. And being out of the sales game for other people for a long time, I'm sure some things have changed, but the principles are always the same. So first off, where are we going to go with this? Okay. I want to say, you meet some people who have a knack for public speaking. You meet some people who have a knack for interacting with other people. You meet some people who have a knack for sales. Some people are born salesmen. That is without a doubt. But that doesn't mean just because you weren't born with it that you can't become a better salesperson or salesman or saleswoman or whatever you want to call it. Now, if you're born with a knack for it, then it might be a bit easier to become exceptional at sales, but everybody can get a little bit better. So first off, sales in my mind is all about people skills. So the first thing a person really needs to do is take a long, hard look at your people skills. Do you like people? Do you like hanging out with people? Do you like talking to people? Do people like talking to you? Because sales is more listening than it is talking. Way, way more listening than it is talking. So do you like people? Because if you don't, boy, you could be in trouble. Sales might not be for you. Now, I don't love all people. Let's put it that way. There are some people out there that I don't particularly enjoy. But overall, I would say the vast majority of people I meet are interesting, have a story, want to share that story, and I want to listen to that story. So it is something you can get good at. But you have to look at every single individual that comes through your door or calls you as somebody interesting that has a problem that is looking for a solution to that problem. So, if somebody came into Home Hardware when I was working there and they said, hey, I need to cut plywood. I need to make really, really straight edges, long rip cuts, that kind of stuff. Well, I might originally think, hey, a circular saw will work great for them. But if that's all I listen to, then maybe I didn't listen long enough. Maybe what they really want to do is they want to build cabinets. So now all of a sudden, a circular saw isn't going to give you straight enough, true enough edges. Maybe what they really need is a table saw. Or maybe they came in and you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to sell them a $500 table saw. But after you talk to them for a bit, you realize, you know what? I'm not being honest by trying to sell that to them. What they really need is a skill saw, a circular saw, something like that. Or maybe a ripping saw, something with, a track saw. I don't know. But listening to the person, because if you assume right away, you're never going to get the right thing for them. But here's the thing, and we're going to talk about people and interpersonal relationships quite a bit today while we talk about sales. But you need to tell yourself, and this isn't disingenuous, it's not fake. If it is fake, well, then you need to think for a while and realize, hey, no, I really do want to be interested in these people. So for the years I worked at Home Hardware, every single person that came through the door, I would just go up and I would say, hey, can I help you? I know, cheesy, right? And they would either say yes or no. And if they said no, then I would not push the issue. Some people would, but I never ever got a quality sale from anyone when they said, nope, I don't need any help. And then I stood there and annoyed the hell out of them. I hate it. I hate it when people do that to me in a store. If you're not ready to buy, if you just want to be left alone, I can introduce myself and then we can leave it at that. But if they are looking for help, could be, hey, I need to find this or I need to find that. Well, then ask them a question. Hey, first off, you're asking, like, what are you looking for? Why are you here? What project are you working on? I love to talk to people about their projects because that's one of those things that gets people's eyes to light up or makes them curse. But whatever it is, it's a problem. They're either excited to find the solution or stressed because they have the problem. But either way, you need to introduce a solution to them eventually. But you need to figure out what really is the problem. And that comes from conversation. I don't care any of the companies that say, we're not giving you enough time to talk to the customer, is doing everyone a huge, huge disservice. Huge. So take your time and talk to a person. Let them do the talking. Listen. Like I said, sales is so much about listening. Excuse me. Let them talk. Let them talk about the frustration they're having with a dual sink right now. They've never done this before. They've tore it all apart 3 days before their family's supposed to show up for Thanksgiving dinner. They're stressed to the max and they need some guidance. So listen to them and say, okay, yeah, we can solve this. But the first thing you've got to do is you got to find out what the actual problem and solution the customer's looking for. So just sit there and listen. Give them time to talk. Shut the hell up, get out of the way, and let them talk. Then, as you listen, you can ask more questions. Well, what are you looking for? What are your preferences? What is your budget? But don't start recommending things to the customer. Just listen to them. Just talk. This goes for selling services too. When I first started in my handyman business, a ton of business would come from me just chatting with the customer. Hey, what are you up to? What have you been up to lately? That's a great open-ended question. People are going to tell you. You know, that people love to talk about their kids. They love to talk about things they bought, and they love to talk about their hobbies and their DIY projects. And if you talk to people, just ask them questions. Don't talk about yourself, because you're not there in sales. You are not there to talk about yourself ever, or almost ever. So let them talk. Let them talk and let them talk. And the more they talk, the more they're going to talk themselves into a solution. But then you're going to hear, oh, okay, yeah. Well, I've been up on the roof the other day and, I was trying to clean out my own gutters and I discovered the flashing was rotten around my chimney. And now I'm worried that it's going to flood the next time it rains, that kind of stuff. So let them talk. And then at that point you can say, well, hey, I can probably do that for you. And then they may ask, well, what's the price and that kind of thing. But I have never once let a customer talk where it didn't work out better for both them and me. So let the customer talk. Let them talk, let them share their stories. Even if, excuse me, they want to talk about their dog or how sick they were with the flu last week, let them get it out of their way, because that's what you're there for. And when you figure out, oh, okay, well, these are some things that are important to that customer. And again, you're not doing it because you want to be fake or phony. You want to do it in your heart because that person is interesting and they have a story and they have a problem you want to solve. So the more you listen to them, the more you'll realize, oh, okay, we can make this work. And for me, I think that was probably the biggest benefit that I was born with was I love to listen to other people's stories. So the more they talked about it, the more I could say, oh, okay, yeah, this is what works. This is what will fix their problem. So back to the person who came in and needs help with their plumbing. Well, they might come in and say, hey, I need a new drain because my drain's not draining very well. Well, what's the problem? Did you try cleaning it out? Yep, I did. I took the P-trap apart and there was nothing in it. Okay. Is it hooked into the vent? Well, I don't know what a vent is. Okay. Well, maybe you need one of these auto vents. And that's like one of those little pieces that plugs into the side of the pipe and allows an inlet of air in so that your drain drains better. You know, sometimes people can come and say, hey, I need chemical to flush down my drain. But no, what you really need is a proper vent installed. So the longer you talk, the more you can actually solve the person's problem. So the more you listen, the more they talk, the more you might figure out what the solution is. But people love to talk. So before you start every single day, no matter what it is, whether you're in business for yourself or you're working for someone else, tell yourself, this person has a story and I need to find out what that story is. And then I need to find out what their pain point is. I need to find out what their problem is. And then, only then, can I maybe, possibly, give them a solution. Ask open-ended questions. You know, don't say, well, how's your day? Fine. Okay, well, what have you been up to? What project are you working on? What's got you frustrated? People love to talk about what has got them frustrated. The more you get them to talk about what has them frustrated, the more they're going to offer to you something they're willing to buy. And here's the thing, and you guys might know this, but the more someone else talks, the more you listen, the more they're going to say, wow, that Tim or that Bill or that Chris or whomever is the best conversationalist I have ever met. And you might not say 4 friggin' words the whole time, but the more they talk, the more you listen, the more you're going to be able to solve whatever the problem is that they came to you to solve. Now I'm going to use a cuss word here, but shut the fuck up. When it comes down to when the customer is ready to buy and you've offered them a solution, or they're talking and they're kind of not, you're not really sure whether they want to buy or they don't want to buy, shut the fuck up and step back. Just sit there, be quiet, let them talk themselves into buying something if they actually need it. That worked for me so many times. And at first, it's going to feel super, super uncomfortable because all you're going to want to do is sit there and talk. And at that point, I have always found the more I talk, the less a chance I'm going to have a successful sale. So shut the fuck up, stand back, and let the customer consider the solution that you possibly offered for them. And at that point, the more you talk, the more you're going to talk yourself out of a sale every single time. So let them sit there, let them stew, let them think about it, and then deal with it from there. Now, on top of that, you need to know your product. You need to know what your store sells, what your service is that you're offering to your customer. Because sales are sales no matter what. So being a good salesperson means solving a problem. It means listening to the customer. It means genuinely being interested in that customer and wanting to find out their story. But if you know absolutely nothing about computers, then how can you solve whatever that solution is or problem is for the customer? So first off, you need to work on the sales skills of those, the people skills. You need to be comfortable around people, all of that. I've talked about it. But then you also need to know what the hell you're selling, because if you don't, then you're not an expert and the customer can see through that, and customers can smell bullshit from 100 miles away. Don't be scared to talk to somebody else. Don't be scared to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out for you. And don't be scared, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy, don't be scared to send a customer to your competition either. Because if after you've talked to somebody, because you don't want every customer, and this is even bigger when it comes down to being your own boss. But I did it for years in sales as well, and I was one of the top salespeople. But if the solution comes down to something you don't offer, Don't bullshit the customer and try to sell them something that won't work. You know, if they're looking to try to get into shape and they want to buy a bicycle and all you sell is a four-wheeler, don't sell them a four-wheeler, because they're going to be pissed at you eventually. You might be a good enough salesperson that you can talk them into it, but don't do it, because in the end, you're not going to have a long-term customer. But if you send the customer to another store that has the product they need, they're going to remember that and they're going to come back to you. You might not get the sale that day, but you're going to make a lifelong customer eventually. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because you don't want to, a lot of people don't want to let people walk out. They don't want to let them go to the competition. But for me, in my mindset when I was selling, I was always willing, if we didn't have it, to find it for them somewhere else, because customer service goes a long way to solve and to build long-term relationships. Now, here's the other thing. So first, you need to be genuinely interested in people. You need to be willing and want to talk to people. You need to work on your people skills. Now, that might be, taking a public speaking course. It might be going to, like local community meetings that you're not necessarily comfortable with. It might be taking a How to Win Friends and Influence People course. Whatever it is, work on that first. Then work on your project knowledge, your product knowledge, or your service knowledge. Now, if you're a sales, if you're an entrepreneur, then you probably know everything there is to know about the product you built, about the service you offer, because you built it from scratch. But if you're somebody listening to this who works for the man, well, then take your time and learn everything there is. So you've got people skills, then you've got product knowledge, and then the third is confidence. Now, confidence will come if you build people skills and product knowledge, but you need to project that confidence as well. And I don't mean false bravado. I don't mean, I'm the best at this and I know everything. No. But you need to be confident. You need to know that once you've listened to the customer, once you've come up with the solution for their problem, you need to know in your head that what you're offering to them is right. And if you have that confidence, they're going to be way more likely to say, oh yeah, I'll do it. Or, well, you're right. I only come in here looking to buy a sink, but what I actually need is a vanity, a sink, and a new set of taps. And they're more likely to buy that from you. So that's the thing, guys. Sales isn't, okay, how do I want to put this? Sales isn't difficult. It's not complicated, but it takes a lot of work. So take a look at yourself first and say, okay, where am I at? Do I have zero sales skills? Am I 20 years old and I haven't done anything? Well, here's the thing. Maybe it would be worth going and working in retail for a year where you need to get better at sales. That's a great way. That's like when I bought, in my early 30s, I'd never driven a Standard before, so I went and bought myself a little, was it a 4-speed Ford Ranger? Never done it before, but guess what? I learned how to drive a Standard because I forced myself to do it. But take a look at yourself and say, okay, where do I want to be? How do I want to get better at sales? And the three things: people skills, product knowledge, and confidence. Those three. And then, okay, well, how do I want to improve? How am I going to improve? Well, work on those three things, but set yourself goals. Say, I want to, and when it comes down to it, you need to know this. Sales, 100% is a numbers game. The more people you get in front of, the more sales you're going to get. So the first way to improve your sales is to improve your prospective customers that you find. So figure out a way to get yourself in front of more customers. So if you had, 50 prospective customers last week, set yourself a goal to have 60 this week. Figure out a way to do it. Set yourself goals. And then set yourself goals on how many finished, completed sales you're going to get. Set yourself goals on how much money those sales are going to be worth. All of that. Set yourself goals. And then, okay, this is what I want. This is where I need to be. Now, how am I going to improve it? So that might be taking a sales course. That might be reading or listening to an audiobook on sales. That might be listening to the workshop podcast that Tim talks about sales. I don't know. Whatever it is. But set yourself manageable goals and then set yourself ways of how you're going to meet those goals. And the great thing about this process is it works for building businesses, it works for getting better at sales, it works for getting better at your people skills, whatever it happens to be. Everything works better. So set yourself a goal, then set yourself the steps to how you're going to achieve that goal. And if you're a brand new salesperson, that's going to work. And if you're an old grizzled veteran who has 5 times the sales experience as me, which is great, it's also going to work. So set yourself goals, figure out how you're going to get there, and then work on it, guys. And it really sucks, and I know you're going to hate to hear this, but when it comes down to it, it's just like public speaking, it's just like getting better at dealing with people, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So if you say, hey, Tim, how am I going to get better at sales? Well, I'm going to tell you, by doing more sales. And you might think, yeah, of course, Tim's a dick. He's going to just make it that simple. But unfortunately, that is the reality. Making yourself uncomfortable, putting yourself out there, and looking at yourself and say, okay, where are my faults? What are the things I really, really suck at? Let's get it fixed. And then go from there. And have fun with it, guys. Sales are fun. I love it. I always love talking to people. And I particularly loved dealing with the challenging customers too, the ones that come in grumpy or the ones that ended up needing problems. I liked fixing problems because when a customer came in and they were lippy with me and they said, hey, I bought this here and this fell apart. Well, I enjoyed fixing that because you already knew the problem. They were upfront with you about what the problem was, and then you were able to fix it for them. But when it comes down to doing sales, and whether that's your service, your product, or you're doing it for somebody else, the best and the only way is to do more of it. And just relax, because the cool thing is if you don't get a sale on this one, there's always the next one. So don't lose your shit over not getting a sale. Just look at it as an opportunity to try again. And I hope that's not too cliche, but that's some of the stuff I learned over the years. Just remember, guys, people are gosh darn interesting. Wow, that sounded stupid, but they are. I love people in general, and be interested. Practice with other people, practice with your friends, or practice with people you meet. Just, in a non-sales environment, just meet somebody and say, hey, tell me your story. What are you up to? And you'll figure it out real quick, the things that you can fix for other people just by listening to them. So do that. Become a good listener. The more you listen, the better your sales will get. If you have questions on sales, guys, send them to me because I love answering questions. It's easier for me to have 4 or 5 questions from you guys to kind of springboard off of than it is for me to sit here and do a 30-minute episode in the car on sales, because I guarantee you I forgot some things. So we'll do a follow-up. But I want to hear from you. Where's your biggest struggles in sales? Or what is your biggest what's your biggest success in sales as well? Whatever it is, either way, I want to hear about it. So send it to me, send it on Boostergram, email it to me at therealtimcook@gmail.com, and just get out there and sell your ass off. Remember, it's a numbers game, so if this person doesn't buy, the next person probably will. So guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.